Hello, radiant Leo souls. This isn't just another video. This is a sacred message and you were meant to find it. Have you ever wondered why certain moments seem to find you, rather than the other way around? Why you stumble across a message that seems to speak directly to your soul, as if it had been waiting for you? That's exactly what this is. If you're here right now, listening to these words, it's not by accident. It's not the algorithm. It's divine timing. You've been guided here because something ancient and powerful is stirring within you. And Archangel Michael is watching. Not to judge, but to protect. Not to lead, but to remind you of who you were before the world asked you to forget. This is a deep, cosmic horoscope reading for Leo, from June 5th through June 7th, designed for those of you who feel like you've been shifting. Slowly, silently, profoundly. Have you been waking up with heaviness in your chest? Feeling a sense of change without knowing exactly what's changing? That's not anxiety. That's your spirit recognizing a transition, a divine shift already unfolding inside you. Because you, Leo, are not like everyone else. You are ruled by the sun itself. You were born to lead, to illuminate, and to protect. But lately, you've been called inward. And maybe, for a while now, you've been holding your light back out of fear, out of exhaustion, or maybe because no one else saw what you were carrying. But I want to tell you something that Archangel Michael is whispering into your spirit today. You were never meant to burn out just to keep others warm. You were meant to burn bright and to shine without apology. In the next few minutes, we're going to explore the cosmic energies flowing through your life right now. You'll receive insight, confirmation, and a reminder that you are not broken, you are being rebuilt. Stronger. Wiser. Lighter. And before we begin this journey together, I want to take a moment to thank you truly for being here. Every like, every comment, every time you subscribe or share this video, you're not just helping eternal mindfulness grow, you're anchoring yourself more deeply into a spiritual family that sees you, that supports you, that walks beside you as you awaken to your purpose. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Your support keeps this light alive and helps us continue bringing transformational messages to souls like yours all around the world. So Leo, trust me when I say this, you'll want to stay with me until the very last moment of today's reading, because what the universe is preparing to reveal to you is beyond anything you've expected. And now, I'd love to hear from you. What do you think brought you here today? Was it a dream? A sudden emotion? A moment of silence that felt strangely full? Drop a comment below and let me know what you're feeling right now. It's not just a coincidence. It's confirmation. Now take a deep breath and let's begin this sacred journey together. There are moments when life seems to whisper instead of speak, and what you feel begins to outweigh what you think. That is where we are now in your journey, Leo, standing at the threshold of something that doesn't need to be explained to be understood. The period from June 5th to June 7th brings more than planetary alignments or daily affirmations. It opens a quiet doorway within you, one that requires no key, only your attention. Your ruling planet, the sun, is more than a symbol of power or fire. It represents consciousness itself, the ability to become aware, to truly see. And during this window of time, that light isn't just shining outward into the world, it's piercing into the inner depths of who you are. Memories may resurface without context. Emotions long buried may rise with no warning. You may feel more open, more sensitive even to things you cannot name. This isn't confusion. It's clarity beginning to take form. The signals you're experiencing a repeated dream, a song at just the right time, a sudden change in the air around you are not supernatural interventions. They are natural reflections of something deeply attuned inside you. What changes on the outside is simply echoing what's already begun within. And the reason it feels strange is because most of us are not taught to trust what we cannot explain. But you, Leo, have always had the heart of a seeker, someone brave enough to sense what others dismiss. These moments of divine synchronicity are not about grand miracles. They are subtle confirmations that you are moving in rhythm with something greater than fear. They remind us that the path doesn't always need to be paved to be walked. There's a teaching passed quietly from one soul to another that says, when you stop running from silence, you begin to hear your own truth. And right now, silence is where your truth has been waiting. Numerology deepens this unfolding. The numbers 9 and 11 are activated during this phase, one signaling completion, the other an invitation to rise. 9 asks you to gently close what no longer feeds your spirit. 11, considered a master number, speaks to elevated awareness, the kind of knowing that arises not from logic but from being fully present in your own body, breath, and energy. This isn't a time to figure everything out. It's a time to become quiet enough to recognize what's already arriving. Just like a cup cannot hold new water if it is already full, your spirit is being asked to empty not of love or joy, but of noise. The inner clutter of past patterns, recycled thoughts, borrowed expectations, they are being cleared, not through force, but through recognition. You see them now, and that alone begins their release. You don't need to act yet. You don't need to do anything drastic. What's needed is awareness. The kind that doesn't panic. The kind that pauses. The kind that walks slowly into the unknown because it trusts that light will follow every step. So if you feel like something is stirring, like the wind is carrying more meaning than usual, you're not imagining things. And if a quiet part of you wants to cry without knowing why, honor that. Tears don't always come from sadness. Sometimes they arrive when the soul finally feels seen. If you've experienced something small but unexplainable lately, a tug in your chest, a name that keeps appearing, a sense that something's coming, I invite you to share it in the comments. You might be surprised how many others have felt the same. And in sharing it, you're not only validating your own intuition, you're reminding others that they're not alone on this path either. You don't have to know the whole story yet. Just trust that you're in the right chapter and something sacred is unfolding from within. There is a quiet kind of power that often goes unnoticed, the kind that comes from loving with your whole heart even when the world gives you nothing in return. If you are a Leo, you know this intimately. You love like the sun, constant, generous, radiant. Not because you expect praise, but because that's simply who you are. You give warmth not for recognition but because the fire inside you insists on being shared. And yet, behind that brilliance, there is often a deep and unspoken exhaustion, the ache of being seen as strong, while silently carrying the weight of unreciprocated love. This phase of your journey invites you to look at those moments not with regret, but with reverence. You weren't wrong for giving. You weren't foolish for staying. You weren't weak because you cried behind closed doors. You were present. You were real. And now, life is asking you to take all of that experience, the giving, the breaking, the forgiving, and let it become wisdom, not armor. There's a subtle teaching that says, when you give without losing yourself, you are in harmony. But when giving empties you, it's no longer love, it's self-erasure. Many strong souls, especially those born under Leo, carry the misunderstanding that loyalty must equal sacrifice. But true loyalty begins with the self. It begins with honoring your inner fire, not dimming it to make others more comfortable. That's why this moment is sacred. It's not about rejecting others or closing your heart. It's about choosing yourself without apology. Choosing to rise as you are, not as someone else's idea of who you should be. Choosing to stay soft while learning to say no. Choosing to love without conditions, starting with yourself. The tarot card that appears in this phase, the Strength, is not about domination or brute force. It represents quiet resilience, calm courage, and emotional mastery. It reminds us that true power isn't loud. It is steady. It is the ability to hold your own heart gently, even while it trembles. To remain kind even when you've been hurt. And to stay rooted in self-worth even when others overlook your value. There's a deep practice, often described in old teachings, that speaks of returning to the breath when the mind is heavy. Not to escape, but to remember. Your breath is always with you. It is the first to arrive and the last to leave. And it asks for nothing but your attention. In the same way, your love, the true, unshakable love within you, is always present. It has never depended on whether someone stayed, called back, or understood you. It exists because you exist. So as you stand in this moment of clarity, don't see your past as a mistake. See it as proof. Proof that you are capable of devotion without losing your light. Proof that you've walked through emotional fire and emerged with softness still intact. That is strength. That is who you are. And maybe now it's time to place your hand over your chest, not out of desperation, but out of quiet certainty. Whisper to yourself, not as someone waiting, but as someone arriving. Not as someone hoping to be chosen, but as someone who has already chosen themselves. Say it with tenderness and trust. I no longer wait to be loved. I am love. Letting go is rarely about forgetting. More often, it is about remembering in a different way, not with sharpness or pain, but with softness, with distance, and with peace. If you've ever carried the weight of an unresolved memory, you know how it can live quietly inside you, not always screaming, but lingering like a shadow you can feel even when you're standing in the light. This part of your journey, Leo, isn't about forcing closure. It's about gently allowing space. Space for breath. Space for truth. Space for you to step forward without dragging everything behind you. There's a natural law, not written in stars but etched in the rhythm of life itself. Everything that arises must eventually pass. And yet, we hold. We hold on to conversations that ended mid-sentence, to glances that meant too much, to versions of ourselves we outgrew but didn't know how to leave behind. We call it loyalty, or unfinished business, or a wound that time didn't heal. But the truth is, most of the time, we continue to suffer not because something hurt us but because we haven't yet allowed ourselves to release it. When you recall a name or place and your body still tightens, that is not a flaw. It's a signal. A reminder that some part of you is still trying to protect what no longer needs defending. That you've held your breath for too long without realizing it. And now, your own breath is asking for freedom. Letting go is not weakness. It is the strength to stop retelling the same internal story in hopes that it might one day end differently. It's the recognition that you've learned everything you needed to learn from that chapter. You've cried enough. You've stayed long enough. You've given enough. And now the question is, will you stay loyal to your past, or will you choose to be faithful to your future? In this time window, between June 5th and 7th, the energetic field is opening for transformation, especially for Leo. Your ruler, the Sun, is activating a deeper dimension of release not through dramatic action, but through subtle awareness. This is the kind of shift that doesn't arrive with thunder, but with stillness. The kind that doesn't need explanation, only intention. A simple ritual can help you ground this release in action. Not to prove anything, but to witness your own readiness. Take a blank sheet of paper. Write down the name, the memory, or the version of you that you know it's time to set free. Not because you're erasing it, but because you are making peace with it. Write these words, I release this. Not because I am weak, but because I deserve to be free. Then, under sunlight or candlelight, watch it burn and feel something inside you begin to shift with it. Colors can support this release. A soft lavender hue for transmutation, the alchemy of turning pain into understanding. A creamy white to cleanse the attachments that have overstayed their purpose. You don't need to believe in magic to allow yourself to feel the shift. You just need to stay present with what arises, and trust that everything you let go of will create space for something more aligned to come in. Let this be gentle. Let it be quiet. Let it be yours. And if you feel called to share, write in the comments, what is something you're ready to release? Saying it out loud even in writing is a powerful first step toward honoring your own freedom. You are not giving up. You are giving yourself back. There comes a point on the inner path when clarity no longer arrives through facts or explanations, but through sensation, a subtle shift in how the body feels, how the air moves around you, how quiet moments begin to speak louder than noise. For Leo, a sign that embodies light and presence, this might feel unfamiliar at first. You are naturally expressive, open, and radiant. But now, your light is being invited to turn inward, not to disappear, but to illuminate what has long lived in the unseen corners of your awareness. This isn't about something being wrong. It's about becoming sensitive in a way that is no longer surface level. When you walk into a room and feel the heaviness without anyone saying a word, when you suddenly wake from sleep with no memory of a dream but a weight in your chest, these are signs that your energetic perception is heightening. You are tuning into subtler frequencies that many overlook. Not because you're fragile, but because your inner awareness is sharpening. The same flame that once helped you inspire others is now becoming your guide into deeper layers of self-understanding. Often, fatigue is not from physical effort but from the invisible effort of resisting what wants to rise. Emotional congestion, the buildup of unspoken truths or denied instincts, weighs heavier than we realize. And while the body may not know how to explain what it's feeling, it never lies. That sense of something being off isn't anxiety. It's intuition knocking. Your current state is not a crisis to fix but a transition to witness. Like a stream that runs muddy before it clears, the discomfort you feel is part of the purification. In many teachings, this phase is compared to a stage of refinement where your senses begin to notice what was previously ignored, and your mind starts to quiet enough to let the heart speak. Simple, grounded rituals can ease this shift. Begin your day with a warm glass of water, perhaps with a touch of honey and ginger, not just for your physical body, but to signal to yourself, "Today, I intend to move gently." At night, soaking your feet in salt water with calming oils doesn't just relax the muscles, it helps the nervous system release emotional weight you didn't even know you were holding. These practices may seem small, but their quiet repetition teaches the body to feel safe again. And when the body feels safe, clarity returns. Writing your feelings down, even without understanding them, gives shape to the invisible. Swap "I think" for "I feel." That simple shift in language opens space for intuition to breathe. When you ask, "Is this fear real, or is it just a threshold I'm crossing?" you're not trying to find control. You're allowing the question to soften the grip of reaction. The High Priestess appears now not as a mystery to solve, but as a mirror for you. She holds the knowledge between the seen and the unseen, between instinct and logic. She doesn't explain. She invites. She reminds you that wisdom isn't always loud sometimes, it arrives in stillness, in symbols, in pauses. What you are learning now is how to listen with your whole being. Not through expectation, but through openness. Not through force, but through presence. And what you hear, when you get quiet enough, will not be the voice of fear or doubt. It will be the voice of the self you've been waiting to meet. Love, when it is real, does not ask you to shrink yourself. It doesn't require performance, permission, or the abandonment of your boundaries. Instead, it invites you to expand, to become more of who you already are, not less. And Leo, you've always been a sign of presence, warmth, and loyalty. But the kind of love that is approaching now is not like the ones you've known before. This one is not here to heal what was broken, but to meet the healed parts of you that have grown quietly in your solitude. In the past, perhaps you loved like a candle, giving light, giving warmth, even as your own wax melted. That kind of love is noble, but it's not sustainable. It leaves you dimmer than when you began, often with the hope that someone will see your sacrifice and stay. But the love you are being called toward now is different. It is not dependent on giving or receiving. It flows from wholeness, not need. Like the sun, your ruling force, you are learning that your job isn't to fix or rescue, but simply to shine. The right person doesn't need you to set yourself on fire to prove your worth. They will already feel the heat of your light and be drawn to it, not out of emptiness, but out of recognition. Their presence will not make you nervous or unsure. It will feel like exhaling after holding your breath for far too long. When we reach a state of inner balance, we begin to attract differently. What once appealed to our wounds no longer holds the same power. And that's the signal, not just to the universe, but to those quietly orbiting your energy, that you're no longer looking for someone to complete you. You are someone who knows how to walk alone, and because of that, you are ready to walk beside someone who also does not require saving. In subtle ways, you may already feel this shift. The number 6, the vibration of love, responsibility, and harmony, is guiding this chapter, along with the number 2, which calls forth connection, partnership, and reflection. This numerological combination is gentle but powerful, much like the love you're being prepared for. It's not explosive. It's grounding. It's not about intensity. It's about resonance. You may notice small signals, an unexpected sense of calm when thinking about your future, clarity around the kind of partnership you truly desire, or the fading of emotional attachment to someone who once occupied your heart. These aren't coincidences. They are signs that your frequency is shifting. When the inner world softens, the outer world responds. Even color can be part of this transformation. The softness of rose quartz, a hue that doesn't shout but opens, can help reconnect you to your capacity to receive, not just to give. And olive green, so often overlooked, reminds us that restoration is a quiet process. It carries the message of trust renewed, of foundations rebuilt not on hope, but on experience. This love is not an arrival. It's an alignment. And it will not come to fill the space of your loneliness. It will arrive because you've learned how to fill that space yourself. The love that's meant for you now won't demand effort that costs your peace. It will invite you to rest in presence and mutual appreciation. If you feel this shift too, if you know in your heart that you are no longer asking for love, but opening to it, write in the comments, "I am whole enough to receive love that reflects my light." Because sometimes, saying it out loud is how we begin to let it in. If you're still here with me, it means something deeper inside you has been awakened. Not just curiosity, not just hope, but a quiet knowing that you're ready for more. More clarity, more truth, more freedom. And not the kind that comes from changing your outer world, but the kind that begins with a single, powerful shift within, the decision to remember who you are. From June 5th to 7th, what's unfolding for you isn't a lesson to be learned, but a truth to be reclaimed. Archangel Michael isn't here to teach you something new. He's here to help you remember. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are and have always been a vessel of light. A soul who once chose to bring warmth, healing, and courage into a world that often forgets its own heart. And now, that light within you is rising again, not because it was ever extinguished, but because you are finally giving it permission to shine without apology. So live as if love is already rooted in your chest. Rest as if your soul is held by something greater than fear. Forgive not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Every time you breathe with intention, speak from truth, or choose softness over self-sacrifice, you are walking yourself home. This is the real path. Not perfect, but present. Not loud, but powerful. And it starts with you choosing, in the smallest of moments, to return to your own center. If something in this message touched you, if it stirred something you've been quietly carrying, then take one more step with me. Write down in the comments just one thing you're ready to let go of. Just one. Because sometimes healing doesn't come through answers. It comes through expression. Through being seen. And when we name what we're ready to release, we free up space for something new to arrive. Let the comments become a sacred space, a shared altar of release and intention, where every word left behind is a candle lit for clarity, healing, and courage. And remember, you are never walking this path alone. Even in your silence, you are being supported. Even in your stillness, you are being guided. The universe hears you. Your inner being believes in you. And the journey ahead is not about becoming someone new, it's about returning to who you've always been. Thank you for spending this sacred moment with me here at Eternal Mindfulness. Your presence, your energy, your support, it matters more than you know. Every like, every share, every time you subscribe or leave a comment, you help keep this light alive, not just for you, but for others who need it too. So thank you, from the depth of my heart. And Leo, my luminous soul, trust me when I say the light you carry is not meant to be hidden. It's meant to guide, to inspire, to remind others that it's safe to rise. So please don't leave your light waiting any longer. Now tell me, what are you ready to set free?